It was just an ordinary Thursday evening when she tossed those words over her shoulder, casual like she was flicking away a bit of lint. "Don't wait up," she said, her voice carrying that perfume. Too heavy, too deliberate tonight. I watched her check her reflection in the microwave door, pinning her auburn hair up like she was about to dash off to something far more important than me. And I leaned against the kitchen counter, feeling the cold edge of the granite under my palm. She didn't look at me, and that sting of being invisible? It wasn't new. "Not looking at your husband? That's a mate's thing," Lawrence had joked that morning, sliding a thin leather bracelet onto his wrist. I told her I'd be home for dinner. She just nodded at the cold frying pan on the stove. "You didn't cook, so we're even." "Fair enough." I gave her the room. "You always keep perfume in your glove box, don't you?" I said, trying to sound casual. "Stop being dramatic, Mark. It's a phase. It'll settle." But it didn't feel like settling. It felt like she was quietly shifting the furniture in our house without asking if I even wanted to move. If only I'd known then where this was headed. I would have started the clock right as the door clicked shut behind her. I sat at the table, phone face down, food untouched. Our dog, a scruffy terrier named Rufus, watched me from the hallway with those knowing eyes, like he was in on some secret. I cleaned the pan, placed the forgotten bracelet on the counter, and updated my calendar. This was how I handled chaos, by drawing lines in the sand. The next morning, she crept in like a cat, soft steps, shoes in hand as if the floor might bite her. "Up early," she said quietly. "Been up. Coffee's on." I slid her a mug across the counter. "We're doing a reset." "A reset of what?" I asked, eyeing the pantry as she tore open a granola packet. "Calendar, budget, space," she said coolly. "You asked for a phase. I'm respecting it, with structure." Structure? That word sounded like a steel cage. Separate nights twice a week. No waiting around if one of us was late. Gym clients, her thing. I was to run the budget for our discretionary spending, and she'd send me a spreadsheet. Transparency cuts. Awkward questions. "Mark, please," she sighed. "This is exactly the dramatizing I was talking about." "It's the opposite," I said. "It's me not guessing your schedule." She laughed then, that little scoff she uses when she wants me to feel like a clueless bloke. "So, I have to file a request to go out for drinks with my mates?" "No, do what you want," I said. "But I'm not keeping my life open like a waiting room." She stabbed a spoon into the granola. "You think something's wrong?" "I think we're not a priority to each other right now." "Happens. I'm not competing for a chair in my own house." Her phone buzzed. She flipped its screen down. New habit. Another buzz. Still, she didn't move. "You're really doing this?" "Spreadsheets. Curfews. Are we 12? "No curfews. Just boundaries." "God, you're exhausting." I swallowed hard. Later, I'd ask her to confirm Saturday plans. If she was out, I'd book the shop. She stared at me like I just suggested a tax audit. Whatever. Saturday was open. By lunchtime, I divided the discretionary account, moved date night to a placeholder called TBD, and told my mate Dave I'd be taking his old pickup to the garage. Dave runs a building crew and has an uncanny ability to sniff out drama like it's a leaky pipe. "You two all right?" he asked when I stopped by. "We're restructuring," I said. "That's a nice way to say you're sleeping on the couch," he smirked. "Not yet. I'm just not sitting still for someone else's calendar." Dave tossed a spirit level to an apprentice. "Want to read?" Lauren's been checking out of our lives like she's on a timer. Timers are for what's important. "Your move." Mine came faster than expected. That night, Lauren posted a pic from girls' night. A wine flight, no faces, comments off. She slipped into bed past midnight, careful like someone used to being invisible. "Fun," I whispered into the pillow. "Shoo. Early morning." "Well, talk tomorrow." "I'm slammed," she murmured. "Don't start." I didn't, but I did. Saturday morning came cold and gray, but I was up early in the workshop. I run a small precision metal fabrication business just outside of Nottingham, where every cut and weld has to be perfect, or the whole job's useless. You learn to read steel like a book. It doesn't lie. People, though, they tell stories out of habit. Dave swung by to pick up a custom bracket he'd ordered. While Miguel, my new apprentice, measured twice and drilled once, Dave raised an eyebrow at me. You look like you've found something. Not yet, I said, my voice low. Phones on lockdown. Notifications hidden. Lauren had started keeping her bag on the hooks near the door instead of the chair she used to claim like a throne. And the car smelled different, perfume that wasn't hers. I made a mental list. Miguel looked up, offering to help with deliveries if I needed an extra pair of eyes this week. We're good, I told him, then to Dave. Saturday night's Mike's birthday at the tap room. She's coming. I want to see her out there with our crowd. Dave smirked. Making a scene? No, I said. Making a note. That night at the tap room, Lauren was ice in a sleek, figure-hugging navy dress that shimmered under the dim lights. Her chestnut hair was loose, cascading over one shoulder, just enough to distract without trying too hard. Her black stilettos clicked softly against the wooden floor as she stayed glued to her phone, laughing at something no one else in the room had said. She sipped her wine slowly, deliberately. When Mike clapped me on the shoulder, Lauren stepped back like I'd spilled red wine on her favorite blouse. Everything good? Mike asked, grin steady as ever. Solid, I said, though my stomach twisted. Lauren was on a social marathon. Half the pub seemed to orbit around her, but she barely looked up. During the halftime lull, she smiled at Mike. He's being dramatic. That word, I said quietly, nodding. Keep it. It does a lot of work for you. She rolled her eyes. The kind of eye roll that says, yes, I'm way too sophisticated for this. We're fine, guys. Don't feed it. Then came the first jab, sharp as a dart. Sarah, Mike's wife and queen of social maneuvers, leaned in with a grin. Mark, still making those custom mailboxes? You should upgrade, you know. That one looks like it came from a car boot sale. Lauren laughed too quickly, a little too bright. He's been meaning to fix it for months. You know how he is. I stared at my pint, wishing it could swallow me whole. I upgrade paying clients first, then ours. Same rule as always. Lauren threw up her hands, mock surrender. He has policies. Yeah, I do, I said slowly. Sarah's grin faded. She wasn't cruel, just sizing us up, measuring the cracks. I felt it too. I pulled Lauren aside to the tall table in the back corner. 1, don't audition me for Friends. 2, I'm done with group events for a while. What? You said we're in a phase, she said, voice sharp. I won't give you a stage in the middle of it. They're our friends. They're my friends too. I'm not handing out our problems as entertainment. She narrowed her eyes. So you're punishing me? No, I said. I'm moving the ball. Next month stuff? Pull me out. She stared, then tried a softer tone. Okay. Maybe I was a little off. Work's heavy. I'm sorry I've been distant. That was the first soft landing. Noted, I said. I'll make dinner tomorrow, she added. Your favorite. No phone. We'll reset the word again. Reset. The sugar over concrete tone. Fine, I said. Tomorrow. No phone. Promise. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. We left early. Lauren held my arm walking to the car like she'd read the manual and was following the picture. Back home, she folded laundry without being asked. The bracelet, the one she'd forgotten twice now, rested in a small dish on the counter. She even asked about the shop, about Miguel, the kind of questions she usually skipped. How's Miguel working out? Fast hands. Learns quick, I said. Good. She yawned, stretched like a cat, the real one, not the aloof one at the pub. Tomorrow 6, she said softly, kissing my cheek. Thanks for being patient. I wanted to believe that tone change. I let myself enjoy the quiet for a few hours at least. Sunday morning came and went in a slow, creeping silence. I sat at the kitchen table watching the clock tick from 6 to 6:30. Then 7. No, Lauren. My phone buzzed with a message. Asterisk running late. Work thing blew up. Don't be mad. I'll make it up to you. Promise. Asterisk. I typed back one word. Understood. By 8:30, she slipped in through the back door, breathless and carrying takeout boxes like a peace offering. No phone, I reminded her gently, my voice steady but firm. I said no phone. That includes letting it decide whether we eat. Don't be rigid, she breathed, sinking onto the sofa. Mark, I'm trying. I just can't control clients all the time. You can control telling me in advance, I countered. She set the boxes down, eyes pleading. We can't be this transactional. We can be clear, I said. Her voice softened. Can we just eat? We can't, I said. And Monday's changing. I'm running a site check late. You'll need to take your own car to book club. Her eyes widened. You're really pulling away. I'm matching bache. Later that week, out of the blue, Lauren announced, there's a 2-day training in Manchester. My company's sending me last minute. Wednesday to Friday. Who's the trainer? I asked. She shrugged too fast. Some leadership thing. What hotel? Mark, she said, a smile without warmth. Do you want the room number 2? I raised an eyebrow. I want to know if I'm supposed to walk the dog, pay the cleaner, and reschedule the plumber while you're off being trained. Oh, the romance, she muttered. Then louder, I'll send the details. Stop looking for a villain. I'm looking for facts, I said. She didn't send the details. Wednesday morning, she left a printed itinerary on the counter. Plain font, no letterhead, generic title. I touched the paper like it might tell me the truth. Didn't. Rufus padded past and gave me a look like he knew the score. When someone wants you to stop asking, they call you dramatic. When they want you to miss the point, they drown you in vagueness. I borrowed Dave's dash cam, the one he uses for his fleet insurance, and stuck it discreetly behind the grill on my truck. I'm not 12, but I wasn't about to cross state lines blindfolded. That afternoon, I dropped by the shop, told Miguel he had the floor, and parked a block down from Lauren's office. Coffee in hand, I watched. At 5, she emerged in a sharp navy blazer I hadn't seen before, her hair done up just like last Thursday. She slipped into her car, then drove north, not south, toward the motorway. Half an hour later, she pulled into a small bistro in a town I barely knew, 2 stops away. I didn't park in the lot. I parked across the street and walked over, pretending to wait for a takeaway. Through the front window, I saw her sitting at a corner table with a man. Late 30s, crisp shirt, expensive watch, the kind of posture that said, I never hear no. He twirled her forgotten bracelet around one finger. She laughed, really laughed, in a way I hadn't heard in months. The waiter brought a bottle of wine. They didn't look like colleagues. I stood on the sidewalk like any bloke waiting for a bag of fish and chips, phone in hand. I angled a few shots using the glass reflection like a mirror. When they left, I shadowed them 2 doors down, just close enough to follow but not close enough to start a scene. They drove 10 minutes to a quiet street lined with tidy gardens and mature oaks. The man punched a code into a side door and disappeared inside with Lauren. The second car in the driveway was an SUV with a baby on board sticker and a dangling, slightly faded air freshener. Suburbia. I sat under a street lamp, memorizing the number on the mailbox, then left. The next morning, I returned and waited. A woman came out, sweatshirt, ponytail, no makeup, collected a package, eyes glued to her phone. Excuse me, I said, keeping my distance. Are you Emily? She looked up, wary but curious. Yes, I'm Mark. I think we need to talk about your husband. Her eyes narrowed. Who are you? I'm married to Lauren. I showed her the pictures, holding my phone out so she didn't have to come closer. She stared, then glanced at the house behind her, then back at the screen. Where did you? She stopped herself, calmer than I expected. Okay, she said. Come inside. I shook my head. Front steps. Neutral ground. She nodded once. Fine. We sat on the steps like neighbors debating a fence. She introduced herself properly and told me the man's name, Nate, CFO at a mid-sized firm. On paper, a safe bet. I didn't want to be that person, she said quietly, eyes on the street. But I had my doubts long before you drew the line. Same here, I said. I'm not here to blow up your life. I'm here because I refuse to be plan B. She flicked me a glance. You think that's what you are? I think my wife reorganized her schedule around someone who isn't me, and kept me in the pantry like canned food. That's not marriage. Emily's jaw tightened. What will you do? I've started. Separate budgets, separate calendars. Next is separate rooms. I'll ask her to leave quickly, but I'm not waiting for a speech. And you? I need a solicitor, she said, then caught herself. Sorry, that sounded rehearsed. It's okay to have a plan. We exchanged a look that said, we're in this together. 2 days later, our texts began. Logistics at first. She asked for the name of our home inspector. I sent it. I asked about family counselors. She sent a number. 2 people in a storm swapping umbrellas. That night, I folded laundry. Lauren dropped her bag by the washer. How was leadership camp? I asked. Fine. Long days, she said, smirking like that version of me who used to meet her at the door was a quaint relic. Maybe that version just grew up. Maybe. We're moving rooms tonight. Her head snapped up. What? You said it's a phase. I'm giving it space. I'll take downstairs. That's ridiculous. It's reality. She scoffed, then tried the second illusion, bigger this time. I bought us tickets for a boat cruise next month. Sunset, just us.
Surprise.
That's gracious, I said. Cancel it. Open water isn't where we fix fundamentals. You're throwing gifts back now. I'm refusing a photo op. She tossed the towel at the dryer. You're not easy to love, Mark. Then stop trying. Respect will do. She looked at me like I'd spoken another language. Who talks like that? People who keep their word. We slept in separate rooms. Saturday arrived with its usual bustle, but I kept my promise about the new foreign territory rules. We had neighbors over to look at the deck. 2 couples, friendly, easygoing types. Lauren breezed through the morning with a casual, "Don't mind the mess." Like the house was a hotel lobby she checked out of early. One neighbor asked about our summer plans. Without missing a beat, Lauren said, "We're loose. Mark's married to his workshop anyway." Then smiled to soften the blow. "True," I nodded, locking eyes with the neighbor. "We're ending some traditions that don't serve us. So, if you're counting on us for the lake trip, don't. We'll be taking separate time this year." Lauren's eyes sharpened. "Excuse me?" I didn't blink. "Just doing you the courtesy of not letting you say yes now and ghost later." The neighbors exchanged a glance. Rick, one of the blokes, coughed awkwardly. "We just needed a head count, mate." "Right," I said. "Now you have one." Lauren waited until they'd left. "You had no right." "I had every right. I'm not plugging holes in a leaky story. You just embarrassed me. Then we're even." She went silent for the rest of the day, then vanished again on Sunday to see Penny. Monday morning, I found a receipt in the bin. A florist's delivery to an office I didn't recognize. Nate's office, as it turned out. I didn't need that fact, but facts have a way of showing up. Emily and I met for coffee in a strip mall 2 towns over, neutral ground. She had her hair up, no makeup, notebook in hand. I carried an envelope thick with photos and a list of the changes I was making at home. "You're very organized," she said dryly, skimming the papers. "I run my life like a workshop. If a tool cuts you, you put it away." Her mouth twitched. "That's a line. It's a rule." We talked boundaries, swapped timelines. She admitted there had been conferences and late nights long before. I admitted I'd missed the early signs, blinded by hope. "Don't beat yourself up," she said. "He's charming. Designed for rooms." "I'm not." I smiled, sipping my coffee. "I'm designed for reality." She closed her notebook. "I'm filing paperwork Friday. I'll meet you at the summit," I said. No flirting, no plans beyond logistics. But as I left, something in my chest unclenched. The relief of speaking with someone who didn't twist words. Back home, Lauren tried charm with volume. "Let's do dinner at the mill. My treat. Dress decent. We'll be out in under 2 hours.
No.
Her eyes widened like I'd cast a spell. Excuse me? I don't do couple theater while you're running a second calendar. It's disrespectful to me and whoever's getting your best. You think you're owed my schedule? She snapped. Newsflash. You're not.
I'm owed honesty.
You can't give it? Fine. The house isn't your staging area anymore. Are you kicking me out? Giving you a head start. I touched the solid oak counter I'd built myself. 30 days. For a smoother exit, you can take 30 hours. She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. You can't just. I'm not discussing it again. She stormed off. The door rattled behind her. I grabbed my jacket and headed to the shop. Miguel looked up from the bandsaw. You good, boss? Better than yesterday. He jerked a thumb toward the office. Your friend's here. Emily stood near my desk, not quite inside, not quite out. 2 folders in hand and a look that said she'd made a decision. Hey, I said. You okay? She nodded. I'm done. I'll be gone 2 weeks. Good. Miguel tried to bargain with promises of trips and a new kitchen. He thinks currency is granite. Some people think everything's negotiable. It isn't. She placed 1 folder on my desk. This is a copy of what I'm filing. Not for you to act on, just because I told you I would. I appreciated the follow-through. She hesitated. You know it's going to get worse before it gets better. I know. Okay, she said softly. If you need a witness for anything, I'm around. Same. We started crossing paths more. Texts turned into quick trips to the notary. She came to the shop to sign papers where mutual friends couldn't accidentally see. I stopped wearing my wedding ring at work. Lauren noticed. You lost something? She asked in the hallway.
No.
I put it away until it means what it's supposed to mean. You're cruel.
I'm concise.
She tried sweetness again. Meal kits, a framed photo from 3 years ago placed on my nightstand in the spare room, surprise visits with fresh cookies. She even told Miguel he didn't know how to take a break, like some concerned partner. Miguel looked at me. I kept my face steady. Thanks for the cookies, I said. You can leave them on the counter. You could at least act grateful, she smiled. I am. For clarity. That night I drove to Emily's. We sat on her porch while her kiddo slept inside, and a neighbor walked a dog that barked at leaves. Ever think you'd be sitting with a stranger planning how to reassemble a life? She asked. I run a workshop, I said. I reassemble things for a living. People are tougher. She breathed out a laugh. True. She glanced down the street, then back at me. This is going to sound like a line, but it's not. When you speak, I don't brace. That's nice. You know what you're getting. Yeah. One Tuesday evening, I pulled into the driveway with Emily riding shotgun. We'd stopped at the co-op for dinner supplies, nothing fancy, just enough to keep things simple. Lauren's car was already parked in the drive. I hadn't planned it that way, and I wasn't hiding either. I slid open my door and held it out for Emily, because that's just who I am with people I respect. Lauren appeared at the front door, face like a siren's, equal parts warning and allure. What's this? She demanded. My voice stayed even. Emily's coming in. We're going to eat and talk paperwork in my house. Her eyes flicked between us, sharp and accusing. You think this is okay? Emily didn't flinch. I'm here to collect some truth with him. If this is a bad time, say so. Lauren's expression shifted from outrage to command. Get out. I stepped forward. You don't give orders here anymore. She followed us inside, color rising in her cheeks. Explain this to me before I call the cops. Call whoever you like, I said, placing the bag on the kitchen counter. I pay for this roof and the taxes. You're a guest until you move out. Lauren's voice dropped to a hiss. You brought her into my house. This is the wife of the man you've been seeing. I cut in clean. We met, compared notes, and made a decision. We're together now. We love each other. You'll be moving out by Friday. I pulled an envelope from the bag and set it on the island. Here are the papers. Read them, sign them, or have someone do it for you. I'm done. Emily didn't gloat. She set down a second envelope. I have my own. Nate will get his tonight. Lauren looked between us, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. This is insane, she whispered. No, I said. It's organized. She stared at me hard. You think you've won something. I don't play games, I said. I end them. Lauren grabbed the envelope like it was a live wire. I need time. You have until Friday to pack essentials, I said. After that, we'll schedule pickups. You want dignity? Take the exit. That's not fair. You didn't buy fair. She glanced at Emily, then back at me. So that's it. You're just replacing me. I replaced chaos with clarity. Lauren took 2 steps back, then tried one last trick. The full sweetness turned to 11. Mark, we can fix this. I'll quit the late nights. I'll plan a trip. I'll go to counseling. No, I said. You'll find a new address. She glared. You bring her here and you talk to me like I'm the intruder. You made yourself a visitor the day you stopped coming home. Now I'm formalizing it. She stared at Emily. Emily's face stayed calm. Lauren shook her head, then laughed. A brittle sound. You're ridiculous. Maybe, I said. But I'm also consistent. Friday morning, Lauren left the kitchen. Drawers slammed upstairs. Frantic, then silence. I set plates on the counter, hands steady. Emily took a cutting board and a knife like we were making a simple meal in a quiet home. Because we were. You okay? She asked. I'm exactly where I planned to be. We ate at the kitchen island, the clatter of cutlery filling the quiet house. Lauren didn't come downstairs again. I sent a brief email to our shared accountant. *, please remove Lauren from access to the workshop's vendor account. Personal expenses will be settled separately. Thank you. * 1 sentence. 1 line drawn. Emily and I drove back to her place with her envelope. The lights were on when we arrived, and Nate opened the door with that same casual, cocky posture. He froze when he saw me beside her. Who's this? He asked, voice tight. My sanity, Emily replied, handing him the envelope. Consider this the last time we surprise each other. His face flickered from confusion to calculation. Let's not do this. Not like this. Come inside. No, she said firmly. I'm done negotiating with people who treat honesty like a tool. He looked at me like I was a rival contractor he could outbid. Buddy, you've made your point. You don't need to. Stop. You had your permissions. You misused them. That's between you and your conscience. This is logistics. He clenched his jaw. You think she's an upgrade? That she won't bail? I think you lost the right to compare. Emily met my eyes. Ready. Always. We left him standing on his porch with paperwork in silence. Back at her place, Emily exhaled and settled into a chair like she'd been holding a plank all day. Thank you, she murmured. You did the heavy lift. We didn't celebrate. No toasts. Just facts stacked on the table and plans for tomorrow. Thursday morning, Lauren tried one last angle. Pity. I have nowhere to go, she said flatly at the doorway. You have options, I answered. Just not here. She used to be kind. I used to be blind. She looked past me at the hall, the pictures, the life we built. I thought I'd land somewhere softer. That's the thing about landing, I said. It depends on how you jump. Friday morning, Lauren's sister pulled up in a hatchback. Boxes went in. Lauren didn't look at me as she carried the last one down. I stood by the mailbox, Rufus at my feet. People love to talk about pain. I prefer outcomes. The house was quiet. I changed the alarm code. I texted Emily one sentence. It's done. 2 weeks later, the paperwork was in motion on both fronts. Emily moved into a modest rental on a quiet street lined with towering maples and kids zipping by on scooters. We kept seeing each other, no rush, just steady, clear moments. People like to rewrite their stories, pretending the good parts were planned. Ours wasn't. I planned the lines. The good parts showed up because there was room. One evening, we were sprawled on the floor at my place. Takeout containers scattered between us. Rufus trying to con us out of noodles. Emily looked at me and said, Do you ever feel like you're too calm? Calm is expensive, I told her. I paid for it with my threshold. She smiled. I like your threshold. I proposed a way that fit us, no fireworks, no grand gestures. I took her to the workshop and placed a small ring on a piece of steel I'd polished. I want a life that feels like our porch conversations. No theater. Just air. She said yes. We had a quick ceremony in a friend's backyard. Nothing fancy. Dave gave a toast exactly 6 sentences long, and Rufus stole a hamburger bun. We bought a modest house with a wide driveway because I hate playing musical chairs with cars. I upgraded my truck. Emily traded in her SUV for something smaller. We painted the dining room a practical color and hung a whiteboard by the fridge. Our calendar. Our coordinates. No secrets. Sundays are for groceries and long walks. We eat on the porch when the weather's decent. Rufus prefers her house but splits his loyalties for treats. The workshop grew. Miguel now runs a small crew. I leave at 5 because I want to, not because I'm chasing an absence. Rumors about Lauren drift in from people who can't help themselves. She bounced between short-term leases and a roommate who posted too much on social media. The training trips turned into harmless posts about sunsets with no one in the frame. She texted once. A long message about memories and missing the old us. I replied with one sentence. Respect is the only door I walk through. She didn't write again. Nate took a leave from work, then returned 2 steps lower with a title that sounded impressive but wasn't. Some people climb only by stepping on others. When those backs move away, they call it a ladder problem. We married early that autumn. A friend hosted in her backyard. No speeches about destiny. No dramatic music. We looked each other in the eye and promised things we'd already been doing. Rufus wore a bow tie he hated. Dave cried in that way men do when they find something in their eye. Mike showed up with brew in a battered cooler. Sarah hugged us both and said, I like this version of you. And for once, I believed her. Emily and I don't have a perfect life. We have a sturdy one. We argue about dumb things like whose turn it is to take the bins out and serious things like balancing my schedules with her kids' school nights. We fight in English. We fight with rules. We leave the room cleaner than we found it. We don't recruit spectators. Sometimes people ask if I regret not fighting harder for my first marriage. I did fight. I fought for standards. I changed the plan the moment it became a stage. I didn't set out to replace anyone. I set out to stop being replaced in my own house. The last time I saw Lauren was by accident in a supermarket car park. She gave me a look that mixed shock with something like envy. Emily was with me, hand in mine. Lauren started to say something, then didn't. That's restraint, too, in its own way. Before she got into her car, she said, You look different. I am, I said. What changed? I did. I said the rules did. She half smiled like she wanted to call me dramatic. She didn't. We drove off and Emily squeezed my hand once. We passed the bistro where I'd seen them months before. The windows shone like nothing had ever happened there. That's how rooms work. They hold whatever you bring in. At home, I grilled chicken and Emily tossed a salad with ingredients I can't pronounce properly. We ate on the porch while the sun slid behind the trees and Rufus pretended he hadn't eaten. Our neighbor's kid asked if he could ride his bike on my driveway because it's flatter than his. I told him, sure, just don't hit the toolbox by the garage. Emily leaned back, looked at me and said, You're quiet. I'm thinking how simple things are when you respect them. I said, Chop wood, do the dishes, answer the people who deserve an answer. She smiled. We're boring. Exactly the right kind of boring. The weeks slipped by with a quiet rhythm I hadn't known I craved. The workshop hummed with life. Miguel leading his small crew, the clinks and whirs of machines filling the air like a heartbeat. Emily and I settled into our routines, the whiteboard calendar on the fridge keeping us honest. No surprises, no crossed wires. One evening, as dusk painted the sky in bruised purples and pinks, Emily wore that soft, worn-in blouse I liked, the one that hinted at curves without shouting for attention. Her jeans hugged her hips just right, and the faint scent of lavender from her necklace mingled with the cool evening air. She leaned against the porch railing, eyes tracing the silhouettes of the trees swaying in the breeze. "You ever think about how much easier things are when you know where you stand?" she asked, voice low. I smiled, flipping a piece of chicken on the grill. "I learned that the hard way." She laughed, a sound like warm rain. "Me too." Our dog, Rufus, sprawled at our feet, occasionally lifting his head to make sure we were still there. The kid next door zipped past on his bike again, waving without slowing. Later, inside, Emily curled up on the sofa, bare feet tucked under her, a book resting on her lap. I watched her for a moment. The way the soft light caught the strands of her hair, the way her lips twitched as she read. There was a quiet confidence there, a kind of peace I'd thought was impossible. "Remember when I told you calm was expensive?" I said, settling beside her. She nodded. "I get it now." I reached over, brushed a stray hair behind her ear. "I don't want fireworks. I want steady embers." She smiled, leaning into my touch. "Me too." We didn't need grand gestures or dramatic speeches. We had the kind of connection that made silence comfortable and honesty easy. But life, as always, has its shadows. One afternoon, while checking emails at the workshop, I noticed a message flagged with a warning. Confidential. It was from an unknown sender, no name, just a file attached. Curious, I opened it. Inside were photos, grainy, taken from a distance, of Emily meeting with a man I didn't recognize. They were laughing, close, the kind of laughter that belongs to old friends or something more. My heart tightened. I stared at the images, 1,000 questions flooding in. Who was he? What was going on? Emily caught me looking over her shoulder when I got home that night. "Everything okay?" she asked, concern threading through her voice. I hesitated. "Show me," she said. I handed her the phone. She studied the photos, face unreadable. Finally, she sighed. "It's nothing, just an old friend. Someone I've known since before you." I wanted to believe her, wanted to trust. But the seed of doubt was planted. That night, sleep was elusive. The quiet house felt heavier. In the morning, Emily kissed my cheek softly and whispered, "We'll talk about it later." But later felt far away. And as the days stretched on, I realized that some mysteries don't come with easy answers. They come with choices. And sometimes, the hardest choice is deciding who to trust when the truth hides in shadows. The next few days felt like walking a tightrope in a fog. At the workshop, the clatter of machines and the sharp scent of metal usually grounded me. But now my mind kept drifting back to those photos. Emily's calm assurance clashed with the uneasy knot in my stomach. One evening, we sat on the porch again. The sky a cool wash of blues and grays. Emily wore that soft gray sweater I liked, the one that slipped off one shoulder just enough to make my pulse quicken without crossing any lines. Her jeans were faded at the knees, well worn like the easy comfort between us. "Mark," she said softly, her fingers tracing idle patterns on the wood railing. "You have to know, I'm not hiding anything. I hate secrets more than you do." I looked at her, the woman I'd come to trust with everything. And yet doubt had planted its roots deeper than I expected. "I want to believe you," I said, "but I need to understand." She sighed, leaning back, eyes searching the darkening sky. "That man? His name's James. We go way back, school days, long before you. He's been dealing with some stuff. I've been trying to help. Why didn't you tell me?" "I was trying to protect you. And myself. I didn't want to drag old ghosts into our new life." I nodded slowly, the weight of it settling. "I get that, but we promised no secrets." She reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. "I know."
I'm sorry.
The night air wrapped around us, cool and honest. But even with her words, the questions lingered. Weeks passed, and the tension eased, but the seed of uncertainty never quite left my mind. Then came the unexpected call. Dave was on the line, voice low and cautious. "Mark, something's come up. You might want to see this." I met him at the garage, where the smell of motor oil mixed with dusk. He handed me a folded newspaper clipping. The headline screamed, "Local workshop owner under investigation for tax discrepancies." I blinked, heart pounding. "What the hell?" I muttered. Dave shrugged. "I don't know, mate. Thought you should hear it from me first. The article was vague but damaging, hinting at financial mismanagement and possible fraud at my business. I stared at the words, disbelief and anger swirling. Who was behind this? Why now? That night, I sat alone in the workshop, the hum of machines replaced by a heavy silence. Emily found me there, eyes wide. "We'll get through this," she said firmly. But as I looked at her, I wondered how many more shadows we'd have to face, and whether trust could survive when the world seemed determined to tear us apart. The days that followed were a blur of phone calls, emails, and meetings with accountants and lawyers. Every number in the ledger was scrutinized, every transaction questioned. The workshop felt less like a sanctuary and more like a battleground. I caught myself watching every glance, every whispered conversation, wondering who might be behind the smear. Emily was my anchor, steady and unwavering. She showed up at the shop with coffee and quiet smiles, reminding me that we were in this together. But even her presence couldn't fully drown the doubt gnawing at the edges of my mind. One evening, as rain pattered softly against the windows, I found an anonymous note tucked under the windshield wiper of my truck. Just 3 words scrawled hastily. Truth comes soon.
No signature. No clue.
The warning felt less like a promise and more like a threat. I looked at Emily, who was waiting for me by the porch light, her eyes reflecting the storm outside. "We're not alone in this," she said, voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing down. The lines we'd drawn were clear, but the shadows beyond them were growing. And as the night deepened, I realized this was far from over. Because some truths don't just come, they explode. And when they do, the only thing you can do is stand your ground, hold on tight, and hope you're ready for the fallout.